So at the end of this episode, I'm going to share a video with you all. And man, I can't believe this dude actually said that. Well, hello everybody, Anthony here. Welcome back to another bombastic episode of the Single Parents Podcast. This is the podcast for anybody whose life may have turned out a little less than traditional. Hope you all are doing well. We have a guest with us on the show today. We're going to go to the park and hang out with her. I'm going to introduce you to her. Stephanie, here in just a moment, so just sit tight. A few things before we go hang out with Stephanie that I want you to know. First things first is that you can actually share this podcast with a friend, with a family member, with a neighbor, with anybody that you think could benefit from being a part of a community like this. The second thing that I'd like you to know is that it's really easy to subscribe to the podcast. I think you just push a button, ring a bell, do one little quick free thing. That way you never miss an episode in the future. And then the last little golden nugget I'd like you to know is that you can actually rate the podcast if you'd like 5 stars on your favorite podcast hosting platform. That way we can tell those algorithms out there that the show is legit and it'll pass it along to more people. Just a couple of quick things before we go hang out with Stephanie, our guest. In this episode, we're talking a lot on the Single Parents Podcast right now about being an entrepreneur and what does it look like for us as single parents to not just survive, but to thrive and take control of our careers and maybe start businesses and do all these cool things that I'm just really passionate about right now. And Stephanie is no exception to that reality, as she is a small business owner herself as a single mom. But I'll let her tell you her story herself. But as she kind of breaks down what that looks like for her, she mentions just a couple things that I think are good practical pieces of wisdom that I would like to let you know about. First, she mentions the fact that, hey, being a small business owner, independent business owner, one thing that can stop a lot of people from taking that leap is the idea of insurance. Because, hey, at my job, even though it might suck, at least I got health insurance for me and my kids. If that's maybe something you're thinking about, the finance firm that I'm always yapping about here on the Single Parents Podcast that I work with, we have fantastic and affordable health care options specifically for people who are needing to supply their own health care insurance for their families. So feel free to reach out to me and I'll get you with one of our financial strategists to talk to you about that. And the second thing is that she goes into the fact that, hey, like forming a business, starting a business, it's cool, but there's a lot of little things you just gotta know, and paperwork and legal stuff and corporate blah, 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 blah. If you need help setting all of that up, business entity formations, also something that we do at my finance firm. We can get you connected with the right people who can make sure if you're starting a business, you do it right, you do it legally, you do it proper, so that way you don't have to worry about all that mess in the future. You can just go rock your business out, whatever you're selling donuts, we'll help you set up the best donut selling business of all time. So just wanted to throw that out there to you all. And lastly, I guess this is the right thing to do because we're technically sharing somebody else's video, so I should give the creator proper credit. But you'll see at the end of the episode why I'm not so thrilled about the fact that I had to do that, but we're talking about somebody's video at the end of the episode, so it's only fair in case you want to go look up this creator or follow this creator or check out this creator for yourself. We don't actually share his handle when we actually talk about his video, so I'll just do it right now. It's at Mike.Zeroh7, and his main name on there is Daniels. So if you want to go check him out, you can do so. But enough yappity yap. I think we need to go to the park, hang out with Stephanie, hear her story, hear her thoughts, and we're going to do that right now. This episode is brought to you by me at Anthony Crosby Talent Acquisition and Development. Single parents, are you looking to take control of your career and financial future? Well, my finance firm is currently recruiting new agents with a business model similar to real estate. Here's how it works. Let me break it down. First, we'll get you connected with our brokerage, and then we'll help you get fully licensed to work in the financial industry. We fully train you to go out and help clients reach their financial goals and dreams. And something pretty awesome is that no past experience in this industry is required. We're just looking for people who are ready to make an amazing change right now, because I don't know if you noticed, but there's a lot of people out there who are a little anxious when it comes to money and the economy and tariffs and 401ks and retirement. And we just, as a firm, we're growing, we're expanding at a crazy rate because there's so many people out there who legit just need some good people to help them. And maybe one of those good people could be you. Reach out and let me know if you might be interested in learning more. I'd love to sit down and talk with you to see if this might be a good fit for you and your family. Yes, that's Anthony Crosby, Talent Acquisition and Development, where change starts now. All right, everybody, we are here. And by we, I mean myself, obviously. And then we have this week's amazing guest. Give it up for Steph or Stephanie? I forgot to ask how you...
Stephanie's fine.
Stephanie, okay. All right, just going to make sure we introduce you to the people properly, because I've known you for a hot minute now. Super awesome, super legit, very, very cool. And so we want to make sure the people know how awesome you truly, truly are. So we got to get everything right. But thank you so much for joining us on the podcast this week.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited because, as I kind of said in the intro of this episode, we are in our, I guess, entrepreneur era of the podcast. We're very big on really just encouraging single parents, or just anybody out there really, to look into pursuing, maybe working for yourself, or doing something to really get you out of not just trying to make it and just surviving, but to put yourself in a situation where you can truly thrive for the success of you and your family. And so this is kind of the, I guess, approach that we're taking as a podcast, is sitting down with people who do own their own businesses, who are kind of having a lot of success doing their own thing. And Stephanie is no exception. So Steph, I just want you first to just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do. Tell us about your business. And just let us get to know you a little bit.
Okay. Well, my name is Stephanie, and I am a nationally board certified massage therapist. I'm licensed in the state of Nevada. I've been doing it for this year's 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And so I started, when I was super young, and have kind of just worked it. I worked for a company for probably the first 6-7 months out of school. And then I was like, this is awful. I don't want any part of this. And so I ventured out on my own and, kind of just figured it out, because we had business classes in college, and I kind of paid attention to them because I was like, I don't want to own my own business. That is absolutely not for me.
Sure.
And then once I got out, I realized that is 100% what I want to do. I want to make my own money. I want to, make my own schedule, because I have 3 little kids now.
Yep.
Well, little, 12, 10, and 3. And so they keep me busy. And I stopped accepting new clients in 2019. And, advertising is hard here if you're not from here. This is very small town,
Yep.
very mom and pop kind of, it's who you know. And so it was a lot of word of mouth. There were a couple months there in the beginning that I thought maybe this wouldn't work, but figured it out and been going strong ever since.
Dang, and look, so you're so successful that you don't even have to get out and hand out little flyers or get on the radio and, hi, I'm Stephanie and Bubba. Like, you're just so set. You're like, I'm good. Actually, you know what? I'm booked. I'm booked and busy. That's huge.
It is. It's big. And I have a cancellation list, that if there's people that are willing to wait, 4-6 months, whatever, then I can put them on a cancellation list and kind of send them a text if somebody last minute cancels. But yeah, other than that, I have my set clients that I love all of them. They're all amazing. I've gotten to, weed out the people that I don't vibe with and keep the ones that I do. And they support me. I support them. And so it's awesome.
So I guess a couple of things to springboard off of from your introduction, which was great, by the way. Thanks for giving us the breakdown. I'm curious though, because you had said that you worked for a company specifically because you were like, I don't want to be my own business owner. I don't want to have to deal with that. And then you had that shift. So what exactly led you to have that switch? And just kind of walk us through that. Take us back. We're going back in time.
Okay.
Take us back to where you were like, okay, actually, I think I do need to make this change, and what you were thinking.
So like I said, it was pretty much fresh out of school and I didn't have any kids at that point. I was working for a big massage chain in Boise and they set standards for how many massages you have to do a day.
Oh.
And so it's not very cohesive for people that want to be in it for a long time. And so I was like very quickly trying to rush through my 20-minute break to eat something. And I had ended up cutting my hand pretty badly and had to have about 8 stitches.
Oh, okay.
And since I'd been massaging already, my hands, just bled forever. And so had to leave, had to go get stitches. And the manager called me and said, hey, so are you coming back to finish your 2 massages you have on the books? And I was like, no, absolutely not. I will actually not be back for about 6 weeks. And in that, it was like 4 weeks into that 6 weeks that I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to work for you guys. Like, they didn't care at all that I had stitches and all this other stuff. Like, so I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to find my own. So I started going and talking to people and found a room to rent.
Okay.
And just, that was it. Then I moved out and I was like, well, I guess I'll figure it out or I won't.
And when you did decide to make the leap, was that before or after you already had kids?
So when I did go out on my own, it was before I had kids. And then it was, within 6 months, I ended up getting pregnant. And so I was not even really in it, maybe a little over a year, when I had my daughter.
Okay. All right. So thinking through that aspect of it. So I guess the first piece I want to ask is, now that you are booked and busy as a single mom to 3 kids, what exactly does that balance look like to where your calendar's full at work, but obviously I'm assuming that your calendar's full as well, just being a mom? What does that look like?
So usually when, I take my kids to school, drop them off, and then I go straight to work. And I will work the whole day that they're in school. And then I usually will finish about 3:30 and go pick them up by 3:50.
Okay.
And so that leaves me, the evening to do sports, to do running around, to play dates, whatever I need, homework, whatever I need to do with them.
Yeah.
And then, luckily, I do have split custody. So 2 weekends a month, they're actually with their dad. And so I'm able to work those 2 weekends as well. So then I'll take a couple days off during the week.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just like finding when I can work when I have kids so that my kids don't have to be at a babysitter kind of situation.
Yep.
And so it works out for me, because I do get those 2 weekends that I can work and can accommodate those people that work during the week and need weekend appointments.
So what does it look like when the inevitable happens and you have that awesome setup that you have now, but then it's the middle of the day and maybe you get a call from the school or something just comes up that you didn't plan for, but you have a whole busy day with clients. So looking through the clients piece, how do you deal with those parenting unexpected situations while also having clients who are still expecting to meet with you?
So I mean, I've had it happen obviously several times. Either kids are sick, kids get hurt, whatever the situation is. And I mean, like I said, I have amazing clients. I've gotten to know my clients because some of them I see weekly. And so a lot of them know me more on a personal level. And so it's like, hey, sorry, I got to run. My kid's sick. Or 2 years ago, Dominic fell and actually had to get picked up from the ambulance from the school. And so I actually text my client. I was running out the door. She's like, oh, well, I'm just pulling up. I was like, great. Will you lock my door? I didn't even lock my door. I didn't grab my purse.
Shoot.
The school called, said the ambulance is on the way, and I just booked it. I didn't even turn the lights off. And so she went in and she locked the doors and she's like, I went out the back door, so that door's open.
Oh my gosh, dang.
So, I mean, all my clients, almost all of them are parents. And the ones that aren't have been with me for so long that they understand I'm not going to cancel for no reason.
Right.
It's going to be a really good reason for me to have to cancel.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay. So thinking through somebody who's listening to this right now, who maybe hasn't taken the leap into being their own boss or being an entrepreneur, but maybe they're thinking about it, but maybe there's like, I don't know, there's so many factors, so many things. I'm not really sure it's for me. So somebody who's doing it, successful at it, has been in it for a hot minute now, what type of advice or encouragement or things to think through would you give the person listening to this who might be considering it, but still may be on the fence?
So with any business, I always recommend the boring things. Go check the state laws, go check the city laws, go check the cost of all of that, because everybody wants a piece, right? So here, we have so many licensing entities so that I think can make it or break it for a business. If you have thousands of dollars every year in licensing alone, then that's going to affect how much you can pay for rent.
That's a good point.
But then also you need to figure out how much you have to make. Like, I have a set number. I need to do this many massages to pay my bills. And I don't include the extras and the tips. And so I always add a buffer for people that cancel or for if I have to cancel, so those kind of number things, you really need to sit down and have all those numbers laid out so you have a very real image before you jump into it, because you don't want to jump into it and be like, oh, I love this, but I'm not making enough money and I have to go find a job now.
Ooh, that's a good point.
And then also if you do have kids, like, you need to find a really good sitter. You need to, those costs come into it as well. And then look at the area you're going to do it in. Is that area already super saturated with whatever you're wanting to do? Are you going to kind of be like a little niche that you're going to be the one and only? And so are you going to have to do a lot of convincing?
Oh, that's good.
And then going to those kind of DBA, the chamber events would be super beneficial. Or if you know someone who owns a business, getting with them and having them kind of say, hey, actually, this business is legit. So you have a local established business backing you already from the beginning.
Nice.
Is, a good thing to start with as well.
That's good tips. So what did you say maybe to the person listening to this who has taken the leap, entrepreneur, or at least in the early days of it, single parent, and they're feeling the weight and the stress of like, oof, like I took the leap, but this is a lot. And because not only do I have to go run a business all day, then I got to go pick up kids. And then at the end of the day, maybe after the kids go to bed, it's just me. So I don't have a spouse saying like, here, babe, like, let's sit down and talk, or I'm going to go draw you a bath, or all the, like, you just got to deal with it yourself and then wake up and do it all over again. So what would you have any encouragement you would give that person who's feeling the weight and they're just doing it all themselves?
Yeah, because I mean, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I don't have a significant other and I have the 3 kids pretty much full time. I mean, and it's hard. It's exhausting. But at the end of the day, just know that you are building something for yourself, for your kids. You're giving them a positive role model, and they can see, they can build their life saying, hey, mom did it when she was single. Mom did it by herself, or dad did it by himself, and, at the end of the day, when I put my kids to bed, I'm always like, oh, now I can like sit down and watch TV, or I can sit down and like have some tea or hang out. It's like that's my time to kind of just chill and decompress. And I have amazing friends. So if I ever just need to rant, I don't have to like worry about having nobody. I just run to them. They're like my built-in dates to rant and do things with. So find yourself some really good friends. Find a routine that works for you, whether it's a gym or shows or, reading, whatever it is. And, just be in your own era. Like, love yourself.
Nice. And is that something that comes naturally for you? Or did you ever have to like really put that into practice for yourself?
Oh, no. I totally hate being alone.
Okay.
So it was definitely something that I had to like get used to, and like, okay, I'm single because this was better than the alternative.
Yep.
And so, it's like I constantly have to remind myself of that. And I constantly have to just keep myself busy, keep myself focused. I have a million to-do lists. So there is always something that I can do. You pick up another job. I have the part-time job that I do for fun. And, so that keeps me busy and ties up some of my time. And so, yeah, it was definitely a trained love for being alone.
I guess so. I'm this part, I might just be asking for myself because I noticed this. What was it? Maybe as early as yesterday, maybe a couple days ago. But it just turned out that I had a busy day, and then maybe I had 2-3 hours where I really didn't have much going on, or maybe it was the whole evening I didn't have much going on. I don't remember, but I just remember being like, oh. I guess I could sit down and watch this basketball game or whatever. But I started feeling anxious as somebody who's just super driven and always going 100 miles per hour and always working on the next thing. I was like, I don't know, maybe I should go do this or send this email or make up this flyer on Canva or whatever. But then I was like, oh, or I could use this time to actually sit down and chill. But the idea of sitting down and chilling filled me with anxiety.
Yeah.
Which is funny because earlier in the day, I woke up and I was like, man, it'd be so nice if I can just not do anything for once. I always have all this stuff going on, blah, blah, blah. And then I just didn't realize that at the end of the day, I didn't have anything going on. And then there I was being like, oh, I don't know if I like not having anything going on.
Right.
What is that? Why is that? And so I guess I'm asking for myself, what does it look like for you do you ever have to force yourself to slow down and to take time for yourself? Because I think, especially as a single parent, we are going 1,000 miles per hour all the time. So when we do have a little bit of a break, it can be kind of weird. Do you ever experience that?
Yeah, I do. And I mean, I kind of get the same where I'm like, crap, I feel like I should be doing something. I feel like I need to be doing something. And I think that's our FOMO side of adulting. I'm like, oh, I feel like there should be, or there could be something better to be doing.
Yeah.
But then I'm also I have to remind myself cool, I'll pull up my calendar and look at it and be like, oh, I don't get to sit down and have nothing to do for the next 5 days. So I'm just going to sit here. Or it's I have softball games every single night.
Right,
I'm not going to have another night to sit here and do this.
Yep.
And this morning, I sat and drank coffee for an hour and a half.
Awesome.
And it was so amazing because I was like, the rest of my day's insane.
Yeah.
And the rest of the week's insane. So yeah, usually I will just, convince myself, look at my calendar, remind myself this is it. You better enjoy it. Or, I'll stretch or I'll fold laundry while I'm watching a show or do something with my hands because then I feel like I am being productive, but I'm still just very mellow, not doing much. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. Like I said, I think that's just advice I need to take sometimes.
It's hard.
Because it's hard. Yeah. For me, sometimes it's hard to sit and do nothing versus try to be proactive. I know for a lot of people, it's the opposite. They need the motivation just to get off the couch and do stuff. But for me, it's no, sit down sometimes, bro, and chill. But
stop moving.
I don't know. So any other, before I kind of switch gears a little bit, any other words of wisdom you would give? I guess specifically, maybe let's talk about fear. Because I think sometimes we, especially when maybe we already do have little ones, we don't make certain changes that need to happen out of fear, because even though sometimes our situations may suck, the unknown can be so scary that we might just stay in crappy situations because, well, at least it's familiar. So for the person who's watching this and hears all the good practical advice you just gave, but the thing holding them back is just fear of what if I fail? What are people going to think? What if I'm not good at whatever it is I want to step into? What if my kids, it doesn't work for my kid? All those excuses, well, not even excuses, but just things reasons that hold us back. What would you say to that person who's just scared?
For business wise?
Yeah. Stepping into some needed change business wise or anything else like that.
So I feel like pros and cons list, always going back to those are really beneficial. And it sounds so dumb, but once you actually start writing down the good and there's not a lot of good. And then you start writing down the cons and there's a ton of them.
Oh.
It kind of puts it in black and white and you're like, what the hell am I doing? Or one of my friends told me, she's like, well, if your friend was in this situation, what would you tell them?
Okay.
And so it's like, okay, if I have to explain this to somebody and then I don't think it's that bad. And then they explain it to me and I'm like, oh God, what are you doing? Then you should definitely consider a change. But being afraid to jump into something, I mean, it's one of those things, we're only going to do this one time, right? We're only going to live this life once. And being miserable every day isn't good for your kids. It's not good for you. Like now there's science behind the cortisol levels and all these other things that are just physically so bad for you that come from stress.
Oh, yeah.
And not doing something you love also makes you depressed and makes you stressed. And what's it going to hurt? Even if you don't fully jump in, right? Even if you keep your job, but slowly start building this job, right? Or like start putting yourself out there if you're scared, and then you can at least kind of get to the point where you're like, you know what? This is successful. People do appreciate what I'm doing or what I'm building. And then you can quit the job that you're using as a safety net. And if insurance is the issue, because I hear that a lot, like, well, I'm going to lose my insurance.
Right.
And nowadays, you can get your own insurance.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a little more expensive, but you can pay for it. And if you're working for yourself, there are discounts and there's all these things that you can do. So insurance isn't a good excuse.
Yep.
So yeah, I would say just go for it. I'm kind of at that point, I'm in my mid-30s now. Yeah. And I'm kind of at that point in my life that I'm like, I don't want to wait to do something just because I'm scared it might not work or I'm scared it might fail. Because then you're never going to know if it works.
I think that's really great. And it's great that you're like a living example of that, because you could have very easily, it sounds like, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you could have easily stayed in the corporate environment. Like you have your quotas and are you going to come back and you still have 2 people on the schedule, even though your hand's all messed up and stuff like that. Like you could have stayed and be like, well, at least, I have a position here and I get paid and all this stuff, versus what you chose to do, which is just venture out on your own. But in an alternate universe, there could be a version of you who chose to stay and maybe is miserable and all these different things. So it's just encouraging to see that you're an example of sometimes taking that leap, even though it might be scary and intimidating, it actually pays off. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it definitely did pay off. And, I was making good money. It was $25 an hour fresh out of college.
Wow.
And, that's not bad.
Yeah.
But now working for myself, I get to call the shots and I get to, make $85 an hour. And
there you go.
Then I can donate to causes that I like.
Oh, yeah.
And I can work when I want. And so it's not always better, but when you actually put everything into it and you have faith that it'll work, 9 times out of 10, it will.
I agree. All right. Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for that. But before we let you go, I have one last segment of the show. I'd love for you to stick around. And I don't know, I have something I'm going to share with you and share with the people. I've been waiting all week to share this with somebody because I know, like I said, I've known you for a while and you're not afraid to give your opinion on things. So I want to get your opinion on something. So can we keep you for a few more minutes?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. Did you know that at Anthony Crosby Talent Acquisition and Development, not only are we recruiting the next top talent in the financial service industry to come in, get licensed and trained to help a lot of people and make a pretty good living doing it, we also connect individuals and families with licensed financial strategists who love nothing more than sitting down with people and helping them accomplish and succeed in their financial goals and dreams. Thinking about retirement? Do you think it's possible you could leave generational wealth to your children? Speaking of your children, do you know if they're properly protected if something unfortunate were to happen to you? Single parents out there, where are your kids going to go? Who are they going to be placed with if something dire does come your way? We sit down, we help break it all down. We come up with solutions that are best for you and your family. And the amazing part about this whole thing, our appointments are 100% free. Yep, all you got to do is get in touch with us and we'll put you in contact with the financial strategist who will make sure that everything is properly planned out for your financial future for free. We also have an amazing referral program for professionals and business owners who might be looking to add an additional revenue stream to their portfolio. Yes, we're talking about real estate agents, mortgage brokers, property managers, CPAs, and tax professionals. This might be an easy way for you to add additional revenue to your business model. Reach out to us one more time. That's Anthony Crosby, Talent Acquisition and Development, where change starts now. All right, everybody. Now it's time for the part of the podcast I like to call Deeply Single. If you stayed around to the deep end of the episode, this is the part of the show where we just slow down a little bit, get a little real, get a little personable, get a little intimate. And for Deeply Single this week, I actually have a TikTok video that I'm going to share with you all right now. Stephanie and I just watched it. And if you're watching the video version of this podcast, you might be able to see Stephanie's face because I know she has an opinion and I'm going to let her loose and let her share her opinion in just a second. But yeah, so you check out this video. We'll just play it right now and then we'll be right back with you.
I think it's so funny when men or like some women will be like, who would want to date a single mom? Guys, respectfully, as a single mom, being a single mom has never stopped a man from wanting to talk or date me. Ever. Like, literally never. Ever. If anything, I think that a man that knows that I'm a single mom and I handle so many things for my kids and I'm working and doing all these things, it actually attracts them more to me. Because they know that if I had children with him, I would take great care of them. They see how I take care of my own children. Like, that has literally never ever stopped anyone. Ever. I think there's such a stigma around like being a single mom and like single women are like less worthy of love, and I just don't understand. I was in a really long relationship and I had 2 children and it didn't work out. So why does that make me like less deserving? And now I raise those two children. I work. I literally like bust my butt to give them a good life. So yeah, being a single mom has never ever stopped anyone from talking to me or wanting to date me.
Well, I'm going to give you the uncomfortable truth. And the uncomfortable truth is that most men, all right, and again, I don't like to speak for all men, but I've coached a lot of men. I've been on a lot of panels. I've had a lot of conversations, and I've been to a lot of places. And I will tell you that most men understand that single mothers are for recreational use only, all right? And this is not applicable to you. This is just speaking to what you decided to put out into the universe. And so I have to give you some insight so that everybody watching this will understand, and then they will make adjustments so that they don't put themselves into this situation where they are pleading to online watchers and users and people that are commenting and trying to convince themselves that they are more valuable than they are. And I'm not saying that you're invaluable as a human, but I'm saying that the sexual marketplace, right, that thing that then determines whether or not somebody wants to make you a wife. Because I noticed in your video that you said that you are a single mother and you've been in a long-term relationship. I always evaluate things based off of whether or not somebody was willing to give you their last name, whether or not they're willing to marry you, whether or not you actually got married. Because then the argument a lot of times will then go into, well, you know, I could have got married or I didn't want to get married. Okay, so why were you in this long-term relationship if you were just going to turn down a proposal? Which that's not what she said, but that is the sentiment that I usually get from people that then say they could have, they should have, they would have, but they didn't, right? And so she's saying, again, let's just use what she says. It has never stopped anything. The motion is already motioning. The things is already popping.
All right, people. So you just saw and or heard the TikTok video that I just showed Stephanie. Stephanie, you just watched the video. I hit stop on the video. I hit record on the podcast again. We didn't really talk much because I just wanted your raw and real opinion on that video. What are your thoughts?
Ew. All I have to say is ew. That guy. If he sees this, I'm sorry, I don't even know who you are, but that was the most disgusting response to what she said, because I agree. Like, I have never met a man that has ever been like, oh, wait, you're a single mom. I don't want any part of that. Absolutely not. And the fact that he said he judges somebody based on, oh, well, I could have been married. I was in a long-term relationship. Well, okay, nowadays, marriage is not what our parents had.
Yep.
100%. Our culture is very much hookup culture. And I feel like there are still some old souls that, you know, want to have the old romantic, but it's not like it was in the 30s and 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
And so being in a long-term relationship nowadays, I don't think is less than being married. Like, I've been engaged 3 times. I've been married once. And I was the one to call off the engagements on the other 2 times because things came to the surface and it was like, oh, absolutely not. I don't want to spend the rest of my life dealing with this or with this issue, or I don't want this to be my life. And so that doesn't make me less than, like, that just gives me the biggest ick from that guy. I was like, that is awful. And if a woman has kids, so what? Like, they had a life before you. And if you keep being gross and stupid, they're going to have a life after you. And yeah, no, that is awful. I don't agree with him at all. I totally agree with her. And I think that I have never, ever had somebody, at least that I knew of, that was interested in me, that found out I had kids and was suddenly uninterested because I didn't get married or because I had kids. Like, that's wild.
Yeah, I think I agree. It's crazy because, as well, usually when we talk about this topic on the show, dating and having kids and stuff like that, like, I always just say, like, look, if somebody's preference is like, I just choose not to date people with kids, to me, like, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, because we all have our preferences, like political, religious, maybe even physical. Like, we all have health wise, like, we all have things where, like, hey, I respect that for you. I love that for you. But for me, or for what I'm looking for in a partner, that's just not what I'm looking for. And I think it's okay and it's fine if somebody has that preference when it comes to dating a single parent. But to the girl's point, her point was like, well, I've just been with people who didn't have that preference. Their preference was just like, okay, cool, you have kids, like, I like you and I'm going to pursue you. And I think that's fantastic. But for to go back to some words that he used, for him to define single parents, specifically single women, as for recreational use only. That was the big word. I wish I was recording when Stephanie heard that part, because her face when he said, girl, they're for recreational use. I think it's disgusting because he tried to walk it back and be like, well, I'm not saying like as a human being, but as a single mom. But like, no, like, you are saying that as a human, as a woman, she's used up, used good. She's only good for recreation. She's only good for dating, but she's not somebody worth putting a ring on. And to my defense of that, it would be like, well, I know plenty of people who don't have kids, who haven't gotten married, who haven't gotten the ring, who are just still in the dating phase. And yet you're not using that same type of recreational language for them.
Yeah.
But I also, on the flip side, I do know people who have had kids, met somebody, and did end up getting the ring. So I don't think it's such a black and white statement to be like, well, all the guys I coach don't want single moms. They maybe for fun, but they're not going to put a ring on it. Like, I could easily debunk that with several people that I know who prove that point wrong. I don't know. That's just my initial thoughts of it.
Yeah, no, it's awful. The fact that he said for recreation, I was like, how gross is that? Because honestly, being in the dating world nowadays, there are a lot of instances where I do meet men that kind of make me feel like a piece of meat. You know, they're like, oh, they all just want to touch you. They want physical things. They want all this stuff.
Yeah.
And he would probably fit into that category where he makes women feel like meat and like nothing else matters except their looks and their body. And that's awful. And you know what? Cool. If that's your preference, have at it. You can totally have him. We don't want him. But for the actual, women that want the commitment and the love and the everything else, I don't see being a single mom as a negative. I guess maybe more of a scheduling conflict, maybe. If you get with a guy who doesn't have kids and then you're like, hey, I have a 2:30 next Thursday for half an hour. That's what I got.
Exactly.
It might be a little bit harder, but if someone cares about you, your job working as a lawyer 120 hours every 2 weeks could also make that hard.
Right.
Or taking care of your old parents or, helping your sister with her kids, whatever the situation, scheduling will always be an issue. And I don't feel like that's just a single parent issue.
And I think it's kind of weird, circling back to what you initially said about marriage. It's kind of weird that his definition for success is like getting the ring. Like that's the ultimate prize. That's how you know you have worth, is if you have the ring on your finger. Because again, I can give you examples both ways of people who maybe are just dating or maybe just are choosing not to go get legally married or whatever, who have healthy, successful, happy relationships. Versus, I also can give you example of people who do have the ring on their fingers and their lives are miserable. They hate each other. Maybe on social media, they look good, but behind closed doors, life ain't so good. But you would still say that the miserable, we hate each other, abusive married relationship, toxic married relationship is still successful because they just have the ring, compared to the happy, thriving people who are dating or just still figuring things out who haven't put a ring on it. Like, I think that's just such a shallow and stupid way to measure whether or not you've made it, especially as a woman, to tell a woman like, hey, you've only truly made it relationally if the guy chooses to put a ring on your finger, I think is stupid, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, because I had the marriage, right, for almost 9 years.
Yeah.
And I had the 3-carat diamond ring. And, he was still very abusive and hit me in front of my kids. And I've been in dating relationships that were way better than my marriage ever was. And so to say that, like you said, that you've made it once you've become married.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess I don't want to make it because that was awful and it was horrible. It was literally the worst time of my entire life. My kids suffered. My kids had to go through counseling to recover from that relationship. And now, alone, they are thriving. They're happy. We have ice cream dates and we have dinner picnics in the living room. It's just everything is so much better and happier now that I'm not married.
Yeah.
And so, to say that you're only doing good and succeeding if you're married is gross.
And I think that's I don't know if he said he's like a coach or some kind of, he sounds like one of those like, I don't know, douchebag, alpha male.
YouTube certified
coaches who teaches men how to, be toxic masculinity bros. But anyways, I think it's super dangerous, honestly, to put it out that you only have truly made it if you get the ring. Because his whole point initially was like, well, how come the guys you've dated before didn't stick around? Or how come they didn't give you the ring? And it's just like, well, maybe it just didn't work out and timing just didn't work out.
And maybe she didn't stick around because they were awful.
Yeah, maybe they're just like, so just make somebody feel like, oh, I need to make this work right now.
Yeah.
Because if I don't, then I'm not good enough or I'm not complete or I'm not whole is dangerous, because then you're telling people it's not okay to have some patience, to have standards, to have boundaries, to wait, to say like, you know what, I could be with this guy or this girl right now. Not the best person. At the end of the day, I don't think they really align with my values. They cross a lot of my boundaries too often, but they're willing to be with me and, they're okay to my kids and they're willing to put a ring on my finger. Well, I guess I should just compromise or settle because it's better than being alone. I think that's super dangerous. And I think that's how people put themselves into toxic, abusive situations, because they're not encouraged enough to say, like, no, stand on your values, stand how you are. And then if the person comes, that's cool. But it's okay if that takes a year or 2 years or till you're 40 or whatever.
Well, and maybe it's a good thing that the people that are trusting him, that have the same mindset as him, are listening to him. Because then they'll just stay the hell away from us single parents. And because I would not want a man like that around my children. If he thinks I'm only good for recreational use, if he thinks I'm not worthy because I ended my marriage, then yeah, definitely take his advice and absolutely go away. Go find someone else. Go find someone who has no kids, because we don't need you ruining the next generation, because that's exactly what you would be doing with your awful masculinity.
Yes, just go away. Stay away.
Yes.
I can't even, especially as a dad I know you have a daughter.
Yeah.
Thinking through my daughters as they get older, for them to be told, like, hey, you're only good for recreation. See, that's I hate black and white statements like that, because let's say somebody's a single parent because their spouse passed away.
Right.
Or something like that. Like, you're going to tell that mom whose husband got sick and died, well, now you're just good for recreation because you shouldn't have lost your husband to cancer or whatever. Like, that's just, I don't know.
That's awful. And I hope his comment comes to bite him in the ass several times, because it was so dumb, because the internet's forever. So it was such a bad decision, such bad wording that obviously was not thought through.
No, I think, yeah. And like you just said it perfectly. They can stay away.
Yeah, they can definitely take his advice and just go away.
Well, Stephanie, I appreciate you sounding off on that. What do you all think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I mean, we want to hear your voice on the show. We want to see what you have to say. We'll see what you think. You can reach out to me and let me know, and maybe we'll talk about it more on a future episode of the podcast. You can slide into the DMs on all the socials, or you can use the email, thesingleparentspodcast@gmail.com. That's thesingleparentspodcast@gmail.com. All right. Well, thank you again for coming on the show. Hopefully
Thanks for having me.
That wasn't too bad. Hopefully you'll come on the show again. We'll take down some more incels on the internet.
Definitely.
Okay, we should do a whole episode of that. Actually, that would be
just
pretty
call
fun.
them all out. Just
call them
watch
out.
the awful videos and tell them how wrong they are.
I might have to have a drink though, because some of those videos really get me really rough.
We'll do margaritas.
Okay. All right. Well, you don't have to twist my arm. Make sure you guys are subscribed though, because we're gonna come back with margaritas and we're gonna take down toxic masculinity. Sounds like a good afternoon to me. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Single Parents Podcast. Until next time, I'm Anthony, and we have our guest, Stephanie. Oh, Stephanie, really quick. I know you're not taking any new clients or anything right now, but anything you want to plug or let the people know before we do wrap up?
Just take care of yourself. Whether you're seeing me or you see someone else, go see a chiropractor, go get a massage, man or male, female, whatever. Y'all have bones, you have muscles. Just take care of yourself so you can keep doing the things you want to do.
Love it. All right. You guys go do that. And until next time, you all out there, just stay beautiful. Bye.